Yeah, Mr. Mapomolo, come back.
Hayi, asicomplain nje man, asicomplain 100%, 100%.
No, kuhle, yeah. Today I want us to interrogate the subject of democracy. Because this system has been practiced for a very long time, and I'm not sure if there has been a serious interrogation of whether the system is the system, or maybe there's a better system beyond democracy. The view of what this democracy entails, or how did it come about? In natural sense, there's always a system of some sort that rule or regulates individuals. In who's the head of the house, and probably the one making the rules. In one or other, the father can share the responsibilities of the house in terms of running the house with the mother, whoever. So the point I'm making is that in one or other, there is a political system that exists in us. So democracy being one of them. And there are many that have been tried before democracy, like monarchy, and then there was also oligarchy. Others they call it aristocracy, whatever you call it. So having democracy is a response, I believe, from the shortcomings of other political systems that have been practiced before for some time. But from your point of view, I just want to understand from your point of view, what is your understanding of democracy, and if we have found the system in democracy. Can go ahead.
Sure. No, thanks, Jomane. Of course, my take or my experience with democracy is largely what we have been seeing happening in South African situation. But maybe to start, I'll just be broad. But I think as we go on with our discussion, my focus will be on how is the South African democracy, how is it working, how I believe it could be reshaped, and so on. But generally, man, I think the idea that the will of the majority must dictate, or must be imposed in terms of who becomes the government, I think is the most practical idea that really helps us to manage contest of power. Generally, I mean that's what I want to. This is what I understand about democracy. I mean, if you think about monarchy, you can it's unsustainable, and it can become very chaotic because it's.
I'm
I
still
mean,
there.
some people would believe that monarchy is based on the idea that a special family or a special group of people have this supernatural right. I don't think that is always the case. I think it's about it's a system that empowers warriors. That it's a system that empowers the fittest. If you are the strongest, then power is yours, because that's what we've been seeing on how monarchies have been changing power in some part of the world. The stronger you are, and then you take over the other, and that is unsustainable, and it's if we allow that type of a system, we can have the change of government anyhow, anytime. So having a system that controls us on how we change power, on how we manage things, I found that to be a very sound and practical idea. Of course, there are many other elements to how we manage this that get to be featured in all different types of democracies, and I think that's where things get interesting. But if you ask me about the idea, basically, that what do I think about the idea that the will of the majority must be imposed or must dictate what happens? I think I found that to be very, very practical,
Mm.
especially when we talk about managing, especially when we talk about managing bigger setups like running a community, running a country, and so
Yeah,
on. Well, in friendships, in
I
other
agree.
situations, the idea of majority may be challenged, but in complex setups, yeah, we must find a way to find to define how we agree on things. Yeah. Njomano Sakon. I think I've
Yeah,
lost
today
you.
we seem to have a serious connection problems.
Yeah, yeah,
But we'll
yeah,
try to get back to the session.
yeah, sure. Because
Mashiman,
I've lost you.
I lost you. I lost you for a bigger part of what you were saying.
Uh-huh.
But I heard a gist of what you just said, right? So
Yeah,
my argument is that the reason why there was a move to democracy is because there were shortcomings with other political systems, like what you are mentioning. One being, for example, the monarchy having one ruler for the rest of his life, and then succeeded by somebody who will know that actually the next person now will be this person. Like there's no diversity of leadership. The leadership is coming from one lineage. Uh, that is a problem on its own, mainly because it doesn't matter if that the leader or even the coming leader after the death of the preceding one, if that leader is a poor leader, it doesn't matter. The hereditary line says Sandile should be the one to come after the death of Toban as the father, right? Whether Sandile is capable as a leader, it's immaterial. I think that was the fundamental shortcoming of monarchy. There may be other shortcomings. Hence, we had to move to democracy, right? And my understanding of democracy is that it's the rule of the people. So people elect who should um, run the affairs of the state. But my problem is there are also fundamental shortcomings with the democratic theory or democracy also as a system. So we are trying to overcome a problem of another system, but the other system now brings other problems.
yes,
Um, when the idea of Demoskratos, as the Greek call it, at the time of the city states of Athens, right? So the conceptualization of democracy was a true democracy of the people in the form of direct democracy. Like in my village, let's say we have 1,000 people living in a village, and literally 1,000 people they will participate in electing a person who will represent them. That was a direct democracy, and
yeah,
the affairs of the city states they were involved in making the rules. There will be referendums. They will vote on policy matters, almost on every aspect of city life. They had direct involvement, hence direct democracy. But
yeah,
as the community grew, like now from one village to two village up to a province or even a district in our case, one district. Let me think, for example, of the city of Fane. City of Fane has about 1.4 million people, if I'm not mistaken. So imagine if for every state affairs that needs to be determined, is it policy, bylaw? Um, they all have to be represented, and they all have to make um, a decision or vote on every matter. That became a shortcoming of um, direct democracy, which but that was a true democracy. Then now we had to move to the representative democracy, where one person or whatever number of people, they will run the affairs of the state on our behalf. But here's my problem with the modern democracy, the so-called representative democracy. And there are many variations of democracy, right? Social democrats, liberal democrats, whatever. So then what is the difference between oligarchy or aristocracy, where there were elites who were running the affairs of the state, with or without the approval of the members of society at the time? What is the difference between aristocracy and representative democracy? I don't see a difference. So what is the difference then? Maybe from your view, you can spell out what the difference is between oligarchy and democracy, because it sounds the same thing to me.
Yeah, well, I think the basic point or a basic difference would be that at least in democracy, people select those they want to represent them. And I am with you on how the representational on challenges that we have with the current type of democracy.
Mm,
I mean, it's hard to have 58 million people to directly have a say on every issue or every, you know, political or a policy matter that needs to be discussed. 400 people in the parliament that claim to represent the 58 million of us. I mean, that's not what direct democracy would. I mean, it's not so. How do you want to say? It's not representational of us, right? It's just 400. But I believe that there could be some ways to get whoever that is representing us, whether it's a 400 parliament or it's a political party, there could be ways to sustainable ways or practical ways to be able to get these people to really go there and represent us. Of course, they already there is a system. Maybe it needs to be refined. If you think about manifestos, right?
mm,
Manifestos are is a menu or a promise that political parties say, if you give us power, this is what we're going to do in power once we're in power. That means all these issues that were outlined on the manifesto, if a party A gets power, the party won't need to go back to people and consult on these issues because people have agreed on these issues. So that how you control this thing of always going back to people and ask them, what do you think about free education? What do you think about free healthcare? Because when you were going to these people and saying, if you put me into power, you promise them or you told them what you will do once you are in power. So that is one way I'd say of dealing with this direct way of getting citizens to participate on their affairs. Jomane, I can't hear you. I think you are muted.
yeah. Here's the problem.
Yeah.
The first aspect you just mentioned, the issue of representation. You know, and that's the first problem that I have. You know, the representative democracy, the way it works. For me, it differs with aristocracy in theory only. In practice, it's exactly the same thing, because at the end of the day, we have elites running the state affairs, right? And this is what happens. Next year we are going on elections, and we are going to elect the representative, which will ultimately elect the president. Then from 2024 to 2029, we won't have a say in the state affairs. We can't even uh, recall the president or the representative because we give them a contract of 5 years. But
Yeah.
from the period of election and the next election, they are oligarchs. They can do
Now,
whatever they want to do because we've given them the mandate for the next 5 years, and there's no say. Even if we want to have a say, if tomorrow we say we want a referendum, we can only have that referendum if the president accedes to the referendum. But if he feels like no, there's no need for a referendum, there can't be a referendum. Or if there has to be an impeachment process of vote of no confidence, that very vote of no confidence will depend on the parliamentarians because they are the ones now. Actually, we give them power, and then you say run with the state affairs for the next 5 years. As to whether what they do between, that's where the problem is. I'm saying they become oligarchs
yes,
or
what
they become aristocrats because now they will no longer have a say in practice.
you are really hitting where I wanted to go. This is a serious problem, especially you see, I was the point I want to make is that what makes it even more difficult in our current situation in South Africa is that we have a party system, and I think if we introduce something like a constituency type of a system, we can, I mean, citizens can be more empowered to get those who are in power to account to them. Here is an example. The way we elect councillors, especially in metros, is closer to what I want to talk about, but it's not what I think ideally it should be the system. Because think about it, even when a community of a particular ward in South Africa, they elect Utobani to become a councillor, there is no there is no system that allows voters to recall that person if they feel that he or she is not doing the job that they elected him or her to do. There is no system. You can't. Only a political party can recall. I mean, if a political party recalls that person, or if that, I think if that person resigns as an IFP member, of course, then there will be a by-election. Or if he resigns, if he was an IFP councillor, for example, whatever party, and then he resigns, then there will be a need for by-election. I think somehow if they breach the code of conduct, then MEC or whoever can recall them. But all these systems I'm mentioning are not bottom up. It's not me as a voter or us as voters. I mean, we can put pressure on a political party, but who is a political party? You know, political party is not the government. There must be a system that empowers voters to be able to go to government and say, we don't want this person anymore, and then there must be ways on how we deal with that. But I'm saying, imagine if there was a system like that, if there was a system that empowers voters. For example, if voters can go to a council speaker and say, based on these reasons, we want this person to be recalled. And then maybe they run a referendum on that, or re-election, or they even given a chance to go and negotiate that on the car on with the speaker. It could be any system, and then a re-election of a ward councillor gets to be initiated. I mean, that is a very system that is a very good system that can empower voters to have direct way to get their leaders to account. Now, imagine that system at a national level. If we have constituencies and we have an area like, if we take if we take local municipalities across South Africa to say that is what will be a constituency, and then we elect these people to become MPs. So, and then you have these people being elected by their constituencies, and they go there not on the ticket of cadre deployment or on the ticket of party list that gets to be submitted by their political parties, but they become MPs on people's vote, and they know that their loyalty lies to that community of 3,000 people or whatever the number would be,
Yeah.
20,000 people, and they go there. If these people, for whatever reason, they feel that, hey, this MP is no longer doing his or her job, then they must be empowered to be able to go to Speaker of a Parliament and say, no, we want to recall him. There will be a system, of course, that will be more sophisticated than I explained. So you have people who, if there is a new policy that is being debated, all these MPs must go back to these people and engage them. How do you want us to vote on this?
Here's another problem. Let's assume we implement the system as you suggest in all spheres of government.
Yeah.
But there comes another problem. Democracy has an assumption that people who vote, we will make a rational decision.
Yeah.
Now, what happens then? First, I believe this is a wrong assumption. Now, what happens then if people make irrational decisions? Say, for example, a convicted criminal is elected to power. Surely, a sound person should not elect a convicted person. But if the law says if you are convicted, then you can come back and be elected, or you are doing heinous crimes and people know about it, but they still vote for you. You see, and democracy will allow that. That as long as the law allows and people wants me in power, I can be forever in power, irrespective whether I'm competent, whether I can deliver, or I'm of sound mind. You see, so there is a problem with democracy. I think the majoritarian rule, which comes with democracy, is a problem also on its own. So what can be done in that case?
Yeah.
People, they vote, they make an irrational choice, and they keep on voting with the same person who's incompetent or irrational, whatever the case it is. So what do we do?
Yeah, I want to comment on this point of people making irrational choices. I mean, there are some of these issues are objective, and some of those issues could be subjective. I think one way that explains this on issues that humanity generally agrees on in many democracies is that if you are below the age of 18, you can't stand for a political office. And I think in the system that I am suggesting, there will be those basic requirements. Basic requirements like if you are in jail, how can you become a leader when you are in a jail?
That is obvious.
Yeah,
that is obvious.
Yeah,
the one I want to zoom
but
in.
on issues like ex-convict, those issues are subjective. You can't say because
it doesn't matter. I don't think you hear what I'm trying to say. Let's say we have a leader, right, who's proven to be incompetent on many occasions, or take decisions that are detrimental to the state and its people. Let's say that is the case. that person can remain in power as long as there are people who are enough to make the majority. That person can be kept in power for as long as necessary as per the constitution. That that's where that's where I'm heading. I'm not
I
talking about the obvious facts that okay, you are in prison, then you can't over. That is obvious. I'm talking about I'm incompetent, and I've proven that to be incompetent by the way I conduct the state affairs. But if people they still want me and they vote me and and give me their majority, I will be a president for the second term or third term if that's the case for other democracies. So
we,
how do we overcome that problem that comes with democracy? That
yeah,
specific one.
yeah. So we need to educate people on what it means to elect people. You know, people, I know it happens. People do vote for people that they know that they are incompetent. For many, not that they are not aware that this person is not a good leader, but because of many reasons. One of the reasons that they would do that is because they benefit from his or her incompetence. If you know someone is corrupt and you are corrupt yourself too, you vote for this person because you have a hope that when he's in power and you manage to make a relationship with him or her, he or she will be easy to help you with more corruption deals, right? Now, now that person did not vote for this person because he or she was not aware that this person is corrupt, but because he or she had other ideas of how she will benefit from this person,
That is
and that
exactly
is,
my point. That
yeah,
is
and
exactly
how
my point. It
exactly. So
comes with democracy.
I'm saying we need to educate people on what it means to vote for a good leader, and but we know this even in our lives generally. People from time to time will always make irrational decisions, knowingly and unknowingly. But what do? I think you engage people on their decisions and educate them to become better. I mean, I think that's what I can say for now.
So you suggest that education alone can overcome this problem. Okay, let's take the case of South Africa. Next year will be the 30th year into democracy. So in your view, um, are the SA voters well informed to make rational decisions after 30 years of democracy?
Now, a situation is that in South Africa, you know that the current government that we have and that we have been having since 1994 fundamentally is unconstitutional, right? That has been declared that we've been doing this thing without giving people enough choices, or we've been depriving individual people to say, I want to become a president.
I'm confused. Unconstitutional how?
So I'm saying in 1994, there was no space for individual who exist outside the political parties to stand for a political office in a national government and provincial government. That has been the case, right? And that has been declared as an unconstitutional way of running affairs in South
Yeah,
African context.
but now you are looking at this thing from
No,
legal
no,
point of
no,
view.
no, no, no.
Even
I'm
even
going
bef-
on. I'm
even
going on to
before
make a
the
point. I'm going on to
yeah,
make a
even
point.
yeah.
Now, people have been deprived options, right? They've been deprived options. They had limited options where they could have been more options to look at. So sometimes people are are forced to make irrational decisions because there is only one, two, three, four, five, six. But if 8 and 9 and 10 were allowed to contest, probably they would have voted for them.
I beg to differ. South Africa, if you go to the ballot,
Yeah.
oh, I think there are more than 20 political parties, even before the Constitutional Court ruling that individuals, they must be allowed. But we were not spoiled. We're always spoiled for choice. There are more than in one ballot. There are more than 20 political party
But
candidates in the election.
it's possible for me not to believe any of them that they are going to do what I want them to do.
What do you mean?
I'm saying the fact that there are 20 parties, it doesn't mean that I believe in any of them. I don't buy their story. I want Tobani to
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that choices have been there.
not
Whether
enough.
it's the right choices or available choices are what you can choose amongst. But I'm saying we have never been deprived of choices. US, there are only two dominant political parties: Republicans and Democrats, and Democrats. But I don't know if they have the same problem. But either way, we are in better position for us in terms of spoils
If
for choices
let,
than
let,
other
let,
democracies.
let me
In
make
UK,
let,
there are
let,
mainly
let,
two parties.
let me make my point this other way. If you were forced to vote for just 5, if in your community, for example, in your community, in your ward, um, only 3 parties participate on a ward election. Let's say we're having a by-elections, and for some reason, smaller nyana parties are like, because participating in by-election needs money from political parties, and then they don't participate because maybe they think, this is not cheaper for whatever reason. And then you go, and you know that a party that is called BAC represents your inspiration. And when you go to a ballot, BAC is not there, but there is only ABC and 1, 2, and 3. What do you do?
You have two more options.
And then
Let me tell you what
yes,
options I'm talking about.
exactly. Yeah.
Before you go.
Now, wait.
Before you go. Before you go, let me tell you what options I'm talking
I have
about.
to make. So what you
But
do?
you
What
must
you
give me
do?
a chance,
You vote
Adile. Let
for
me tell you what
I
I'm
have
talking
to wait.
about.
No. What you do? You vote
But you
for.
must give me a chance.
No,
Okay.
I have to finish a point, and then I give you a chance. Yeah, you can spoil the ballot, or you can leave, or you can vote for ABC.
Or don't vote at all.
Yes, or don't vote at all. Now I'm just saying that these are the options that you have. So some people, they go for a better devil. Going for better devil is irrational, but people do it. And they go for, now going for a better devil is irrational, right? Going for someone that you know is not good, but and I'm saying in some cases this is what people are doing in democracies, including South Africa. They go for better devil because there is not enough options for them.
I disagree with the not enough options.
And going for better devil can be a rational idea.
The elections are participated in since I got the right to vote.
Yes.
I've always been spoiled for choice in terms of the number of parties that were there for me to choose from. Over and above the other two options I have, to spoil the ballot or not to go to elections at all.
What do you
I've
mean that
never been
you are
deprived of
spoiled
the
for
choices.
choice? If you want Coke Zero, and you come to the shelf, there is Coke Light and Coke and the normal Coke. Are you spoiled for choice because at least there is Coke Light and the normal Coke? You call that being spoiled for choice?
It's difficult to compare political parties with merchandise. That one is very difficult. I don't know how to tackle that one because
I'm
Coke
just
is
saying, if I'm a
merchandise.
centrist, politically, if I'm a centrist, I'm not a leftist or rightist, and I go there is no centrist. I'm not spoiled for choice for the fact that I can either go for left or right. I'm not spoiled for choice in that situation. I'm not.
Ideologically, South Africa has they have all those choices. They are leftists, right? Right of set. They are.
I think that is
They are.
debatable. I think
Okay.
that is.
But in my view, they are. It obviously will depend on what do you consider for a party to be right of center or left or center. But from my point of view, we never had a problem, especially left. We have left of center, we have right of center, we have center. I believe ideologically, whether they live to those ideologies, I don't know. But for what they proclaim, I don't think we have a vacuum in terms of ideological choices as far as political parties are concerned. But my main issue is that with the choices we have, even if they are three, we can keep candidate A or party A solely because we want to, majority of people want to keep party A, and there's no alternative. And the majority will say if one gets 50 plus one, they are in there. Whether they've proven to be useless, incompetent, corrupt, whatever, as long as they have not been disqualified in terms of the law, they can always stand and can always win and can always run state affairs. That's my main issue with democracy.
Yeah, and I hear you, and I believe that not only education can assist on that and many other things, but I also want us to appreciate that that is the nature of life generally. Not all choices that we are always that are always on our table. You don't even when you share, like, I mean, even the person that you are with when someone is married, you always had ideas that, well, I mean, if this was there, I could have done this, but life is just that complex, right? Life is
Yeah,
just that complex. So I'm not sure, I mean, beyond educating people and also people learning from experience. I mean, if this time you gave this party a chance and then they did
yeah.
not deliver to their promise, that is experience that you can use making decision at the
But
next election.
I don't want to accept the argument that it's the nature of our lives. For one reason, the very reason why we have democracy is because we've identified shortcomings of other political systems. So now my question is, what stops us from, after identifying the democratic shortfall, why don't we devise a better system than democracy? Actually, that's my next question to you. That given the shortcomings that we have in democratic theory or political system, how can we improve the current system? Or maybe I can put it this way: how can you devise a new system that will overcome the shortcomings of democracy, for which democracy also was trying to overcome the shortcomings of monarchy, aristocracy, and the like? How can we um, refine the current system we have so that it can work better than how it is now? Go ahead.
Um, all right. I had some issues with my camera. I guess I'm back now, right? Young one. All right, cool. Um, yeah. So the question is, yeah, how can we think of any system? You are muted.
Yeah, how can you think of a better solution to what we already have? Because that's my main issue. You know, we have become complacent, and then to think that in democracy we found the system, and you and I will agree that democracy has its own shortcomings. So with those shortcomings, why then can't we find or devise a new system that will overcome the democratic challenges that we know and also have highlighted? We need to get into the space. We may not get it today, but if you have some ideas, maybe you can share with me what can we do to overcome the challenges we've just discussed earlier.
Yeah, sure. Well, I think your biggest issue with democracy is that um, um, voters are not rational thinkers, and if majority think however they think and they select Usandile to become a leader,
Uh,
doesn't matter
that's
how
not
bad.
That's not
That's
what I said.
yeah.
That's not what I said. What I said was that the podcast system is based on the assumption that voters will be rational when they make decisions, which may not necessarily be the case. I'm not saying that voters are irrational. I'm saying it's based on the assumption that they will be rational. And I believe that that is not always the case, especially in South African context. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, sure. I'm not sure if I can comment further on that one, but I believe that systems like this party system and representational type of democracy really needs to be redefined. They are outdated, or maybe not outdated, but we have learned that through experience that they
Mm.
are they are not giving power to people. I mean, because that is the biggest slogan of democracy, that people are governing. And
Yeah,
when you give when you arrange democracy through political systems, as how it's happening in South Africa, is not the real idea. I was just listening to someone talking about how coalitions, how unconstitutional coalitions arrangements are. You know that in South Africa, people vote for a political party in a municipality, a majority, or maybe you don't have a outright majority, but people have made their demands, or what they want to happen. And when these
all right.
governments get to be formed, you get a top six of a political party discussing with other political parties how the government is going to be arranged. How is that a will of the people?
I agree with you. Actually,
Yes,
we need to wrap up this session, and then next time I want us to tackle that specific item in terms of how can we make the democracy as a system better. Ne? But that's
yes.
all we have for today. Until next time, goodbye.